If you're watching this, you want to get into Microsoft Excel, you want to learn how to use it, and you may not know where to start. Well, this video is the right place. My name is Nick Powers. I make a lot of spreadsheet content and short form media, and I'm now branching into long form content. And this is where I show you how to make a lot of the stuff that I've made for you guys in my short form content. And as you can see, we have Excel already open. So if you want to do this along with me, go ahead and open up Excel and start a brand new notebook. You don't have to add anything to it. We'll do everything together. Now, most people think that you have to start a spreadsheet in A1 in the top left-hand corner. Here's the truth. You can start it anywhere you want to. In fact, I normally start it towards the middle of the screen or somewhere a few cells down and to the right. The reason I do this is so I have some wiggle room if I want to add stuff on top of the table that I'm making, or if I want to add some decoration, some filler. If I want the background to be black, I can make it look however I want to, and I don't have to move anything around because there's ample space. You don't have to do this. You can start on A1 if you want to, but let's get into it. We're going to start with a few Excel shortcuts. Before we actually make our table, we're going to just mess around, and I'm going to show you a quick few things that you may not know. First off, let's start with the number 1. You're just going to put that in whatever cell you want to, and then you're going to type in number 2 right below it. If you have 1 and 2 on top of each other, what you're going to do is you're going to click number 1 and drag to number 2. That way you have both of them selected like this. And in that little square at the bottom right of those 2 cells, you're going to click that and hold it. And you're going to pull it down as far as you want and then let go. And as you can see, it's filling in with the numbers based on the pattern that you put in. Let's do something else. Let's start with 1 in the first cell, 3 in the second cell, 5 in the third cell. You think it's going to figure it out? We're going to drag it all the way down, and it sure does. So if you have a pattern of numbers in your spreadsheet, you know that everything's going to go up or down by a certain amount. You can select the cells that you've already put the numbers in, and then just tell it to figure out the rest. And Excel is smart enough to where it just might do that. Another quick shortcut. When you start typing literally anything, let's type in green. You can literally type whatever you want for this, and then hit tab. It's going to move you to the column to the right. And you can type in blue, tab, red, tab, orange, tab. And when you get to however far in this list you want to, you can press return or enter if you're on Windows, and it brings you back to the cell not under you, or not under the cell that you're already in, but under the cell that you started with. That way, if you're inputting large lists and you're going through one client at a time or one entry at a time, and you're entering all of this data per client, you're able to do that very easily. You don't have to click the button that you want to start with every time. You can just click enter, and it'll go back to where it thinks you want to go. And now let's look at formatting. Let's just type in whatever you want to. You can type in your name if you want, and we're going to actually make these cells bigger. So in whatever column you put that cell in, go to wherever that column header is. And in this case, I put it in C7. You're going to go to the column header, which is C, on the right side of it. You can click and drag, and it'll make that column wider. You can do the same thing with the row. Click and drag, and it makes it bigger. Let's say that you want these cells that exact same size, but you want the text to appear differently. What if you want them higher? Well, then up by the font and the size, right next to that, there are these options. Top align. If you click that, the text goes all the way to the top. Center, bottom. Just underneath that, there's the left, center, and right align. So you can move the text to the right side of the cell, to the left, to the center. So if you want it at the top right, it can be there too. You can also change fonts and colors. If you don't know what size of font you want, instead of going through one at a time in this list of fonts, you can increase it little by little until you've got it where you want it. You can also make it bold, italic, underline, whatever you want. And if you decide that you don't want any of these, you just uncheck. Click it again and it'll uncheck it. If you want to change the background of a cell, there's the bucket spilling out right here. Change the background, and then you can go and change it back to no fill if you decided that you don't want that. Same thing with fonts. If you want a specific color, you can change that right there. Now let's make our first table. Well, what is a table to start off with? Many of you are thinking, well, we're in a table already. We're using Microsoft Excel. Look at all these columns and rows that appear to extend infinitely. Yeah, Excel is already a spreadsheet, but a table is its own set of data within that spreadsheet. And a table is a little bit unique because you can sort it and filter it without changing the overall data. And I'll show you a little bit more about that in just a second. Now, the most important part that I usually like to remember about making tables is you always want to start with the columns first. Let's say that we're making a library. We're going to start with name, the person who's checking out books. You're going to hit tab. And then let's say that we want the total number of books that they've checked out. We're going to write in total books. And then let's do genres. Let's do historical fiction. Let's do history. Well, not history. Let's do romance, sci-fi, young adult, and fantasy. Once you hit return or enter, if you're on Windows, it'll take you below the name column header because that's where we started. We can go ahead and make our first entry. Let's say Deborah. Let's turn this into a table. What we're going to do is we're going to select name and we're going to drag all the way over to one cell below fantasy. Include Deborah right there. Now under the home ribbon, we're going to click Format as Table, and you can select any of these that you want to. My favorite one to select is White Table Style Light 8, because I think that looks snazzy. But I'm boring, and I like black and white, so you can select anything that you want to. Now, we have already put the headers in, so when we see this box right here, it's asking us if our table has headers. We want to check that yes. If we don't check that yes, it's going to make new headers and it's going to treat the data that we've already put in the sheet as entries to the table. So name, total books, historical fiction, all of those genres will be treated as an entry to the table instead of the headers themselves, instead of the categories. So we're going to click My Table Has Headers, and we're going to click OK. And now we have our first table. So what we're going to do is under total books, we don't want to manually figure out how many books Deborah has every single time she changes it. We also don't want to figure out how many total books anybody else has. We want Excel to do that for us. So we're going to make our first formula. To do this, we're going to type in equals, and we're going to type in SUM for sum. We're going to click Tab, and notice how that opens up a parentheses. This is the sum of anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the cell under historical fiction because that is our first column that we're adding the sum of. And we're going to drag all the way out to fantasy. And once we have that all selected, we're going to hit return. And right now it'll give you the total amount of 0 because we have nothing else in historical fiction, romance, sci-fi, young adult, or fantasy. But once we start adding some, let's say Deborah has checked out 3 historical fiction books, tab, 2 romance books, 1 sci-fi book, 1 young adult book, and 8 fantasy books. She's really into fantasy. And see, it added all of those categories together, and now she has a total book count of 15. Let's add somebody else. As you can see, this table is only 1 entry long. We probably want several more than that. We can just click or hit enter after you select Deborah. Just click on the cell underneath, and we're going to type in somebody else. Let's say Mike. We don't need to type in how many total books he has, so we can just hit tab again, and we can make something up. Let's say 5 historical fiction, 1 romance, 10 sci-fi, 3 young adult, and 10 fantasy. And see how he has 29 books checked out. He is an avid reader. I'm going to go ahead and fill out some of the rest of these, and then I recommend you do the same thing, and then we can move on. Okay, we've got a few more entries into this library, and we can move on. Let's explore graphs. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the Insert ribbon up at the top, right next to Home, Draw, and we're going to find a graph that we like. We're going to make a bar graph right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to click and hold Deborah, and then select all the way down to Hammond, and we're also going to include the total number of books. So we're going to click and hold from Deborah all the way down to the bottom, whoever you have, and make sure that you're also selecting the last entry with their total of books. We're going to, under the Insert ribbon, go to the bar graph, and we can click whichever bar graph we like. I'm going to just click this very top left 2D column, and that gives you a chart. You can decorate it with any of these themes you like here. You can explore these, just click around. You can also change the colors. In order to change the title, what you would do is you would double click, hit backspace, and you can change it to however you want. You can also move it around. Let's say you want it to be right next to the table. Let's say you want it to be far away. Let's say that we want to make a circle graph, but instead of total number of books, we want historical fiction. So what we would do is we would select all of our names, and then we would let go. And then we would click Command or Control if you're on Windows, and select all of the historical fiction category. We skipped over total books altogether, and now we go to the Insert ribbon, Pie Chart, and we can select whichever pie chart we like. And you can play around with themes and colors here too, and it'll show you what percentage of the overall total number of books each person has. Now let's look at lookups, the lookup function. This includes VLOOKUPs or XLOOKUPs. With XLOOKUPs, you don't necessarily need any other kind of lookup unless you're doing something specific. So we're going to learn about XLOOKUPs right now. What a lookup function is if you want the spreadsheet to look up a specific entry based on what you're giving it. For this tutorial, we're going to say that we want an XLOOKUP function to find what the total number of books is for a specific person if we type in their name. For example, we type in the name Deborah, and it's going to give us the total number of books that Deborah has checked out. So we're going to make another table for this. So just like the last time, we're going to type in name, and then you're going to hit tab, and you're going to type in total books. If you want, you can go ahead and type in your very first name that you want to search for. Let's say Deborah, and we are going to just select these and make a table. So go back to the home ribbon, and you're going to click Format as Table. And let's make this one look a little bit different because this is the lookup table. I'm going to use dark teal table style, medium 2. We are going to check that our table has headers because we added those before we started. And now we have our new lookup table. Now it's not done yet because we need a formula to do that lookup. What we're going to do is we're going to click equals. We're going to type in X lookup, and we're going to hit tab. Now, the lookup value is the cell that you want to look for. So in this case, we want to look for Deborah. So that's the lookup value. Click Deborah as the lookup value because that's who we're looking for. Click comma. Now the lookup array. This is the list of values that we're picking this name out from. So what we're going to do is we're going to select all of the names within that first table that we created. Click and drag all the way down, and then you're going to click comma, and then the return array is the total books from Deborah. So we're going to click all of the total books, so it can filter by every single one of those names, and then now we're going to click enter or return. And as you can see, since we have Deborah typed in, it gives us 15. Now we can type in any name we want to in this cell under name, Mike, and it will give us the total number of books by Mike. Hammond, same thing, and grandma, everything that you have entered. Once you type that name in, then it will give you the total number of books. So what if we want to make it a drop-down menu? Most people won't want to type in manually every single time they want to look somebody up. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on the cell that we want to be a drop-down menu. We're going to go to the data ribbon up at the top. We're going to click on next to data validation. We're going to click at that little arrow next to it. We're going to click on data validation. What data validation is it only allows a specific piece of data within the cell that you select that for. And under allow, select list because we want it to be a drop-down list. And now under source, stay with me, this is going to make sense. Click the little chart button right here, and we're going to select all of the names in our library table. Once you have all those names selected, you're going to hit return or enter, and then hit OK. And as you can see, there's a little arrow next to the name cell in our lookup table now. Once you click that arrow, it'll actually let you select every single name that's in there. Let's select Brenda, and it'll give you the total number of books that Brenda has checked out. You don't have to type anything, you just have to click and select. This will be way easier for anybody using sheets that you make. But what if you want to add more names after you already have this selected? Well, you can. Let's say we want to add Rick, hit tab, and it added that row to the table. Now, if you are running out of space or you want to add somebody in the middle, you can click on the cell below wherever you want to add a new name. Let's say we want to add grandpa right before grandma. So click on grandma. We're going to right click on that cell. We're going to select insert and rows above. Now that column isn't named yet, so we're going to have to type in grandpa, hit tab, and we can fill out what grandpa likes. And as you can see, it adjusts all of our graphs as well. So that concludes the first video in this tutorial. If you want to keep learning about Excel, definitely hit that follow button and leave a comment with what you would like to learn more about. Thank you for watching. Definitely follow along.